Hi, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I would really appreciate it. And of course, share the video if you can. It's really helping my channel. So please continue doing it if you're already doing it. If you haven't, please do so. Thank you. Okay, last chapter. Let's go back to the video.
BTS didn't need dynamite and butter. The world did. Too many people outside of the US formed their view of the US based on Twitter and other social media. And that's also the reason many people, haters especially, downplay how much of a hit Dynamite and Butter were in the US. These songs were massive, humongous, absolutely dominated the US. When a country's song stayed at number one in Billboard Hot 100 for 14 weeks, many dubbed it chart manipulation. I cannot comment on that whether it is or it isn't because I didn't really investigate. But at the very least, I can say it isn't implausible. Radio is still highly consumed by the South, Midwest, and Northern US. Country music isn't confined to Nashville, Nevada, Texas, Florida, Dallas, Austin, Tampa, Orlando, and Las Vegas all listed country music as one of their favorite genres, second only to rock and roll. In fact, radio listeners are growing. 55% of Gen Z in the US listen to AM/FM radio every day. Hip hop is, of course, the most streamed in the US, but radio is a different story and it is very much alive. Hip hop fans are loud on social media, especially on Twitter. But radio listeners are not very loud. That's why there are very few songs that actually dominate the US in sales, radio, and streams. And BTS owns two of these very few songs. Dynamite stayed in Billboard Hot 100 for 32 weeks, three of which in number one. Butter stayed in the charts for 20 weeks, 10 of which in number one. In total, BTS has spent more than 160 weeks inside the Billboard Hot 100 across 27 songs. That does not include individual members' solo credits. Dynamite and Butter, however, were the two songs that sent BTS to the South, the Midwest, northern parts of the US, areas that traditionally don't bother with anything outside of country or rock and roll. Slowly, the awareness of who BTS was started going in each of the corners of the US. At first, people called them that Korean boy band, and then that K-pop group, and then eventually people just knew BTS, those guys from Korea. Dynamite outsold twice over The Weeknd's Blinding Light, a giant in the Billboard Hot 100 chart, staying inside for 90 weeks and on the summit for 9 weeks. Dynamite clocked in 11.9 million radio spins. This is more than the 10.8 million airplay Morgan Wallen's Last Night got in its first week. That is also almost 5 times Miley Cyrus's Flowers, which ruled Billboard Hot 100 Summit for 8 weeks, which walked away with only 2.4 million radio reach in its first week. You can practically go, at the very least, in the suburbs of the US and they would know about the song and the band. And the truth is that BTS didn't need it. Map of the Soul, released in 2020, sold 347,000 in pure sales. And to put that in context, Stray Kids 5 Star, released this year, sold over 290,000 in pure sales. And before the pandemic, they sold out the initial 39 dates, all stadiums, for their Map of the Soul tour. As we all know, traditionally, tours get extended to more countries and more cities. Obviously, BTS's fan base was more than enough to put them in the same level as the Beatles. What was lacking was the song the West could sing with them. BTS sang in Korean, and the West doesn't speak Korean, so it looked like, at least for a while, it was that one distance that will not be crossed. Until they released Dynamite, Butter, and Permission to Dance. These were the songs that allowed the world to sing with BTS. And the whole of US did. The importance of Life Goes On. Sticking two English songs to the summit of Billboard Hot 100 were quickly dismissed by many. After all, it's an English-speaking country. Even if there have been so many other K-pop groups that actually released an English song but didn't land on top of Billboard Hot 100. Nevertheless, when BTS launched Life Goes On and it cleared all 99 levels to claim the number one spot, everyone panicked. It is also the first Hot 100 number one in the chart's 62-year history, sang predominantly in Korean. It was also, at least at that time, only the 29th non-English song to enter Billboard Hot 100 and only the 8th non-English song to stick a landing at the number one spot. Later on, they would become the first act in history to secure a number one in Billboard Hot 100 Summit twice with two different separate non-English songs. And this was before Billboard implemented changes in their rules, including restricting the number of purchases they will count towards a song. Life Goes On and eventually My Universe and much later Like Crazy by Jimin prove that they will do just fine with a Korean language song. They may not have the support of radio, who continue to block non-English songs, but the number of fans they have is enough to make up for what radio refuses to give them. Life Goes On also paved the way for other acts singing in foreign languages to have a better awareness and acceptance in the US. And they have the nerve to call BTS manufactured. Back in 2020, Billboard actually banned bundles in chart counts. The rule change was, in all fairness, a long time coming. When The Weeknd released After Hours back in 2020, during the first week, he actually bundled the album with ticket sales for his upcoming concert. And then eventually, he bundled it with 80 different merchandise sold via his official web store. Even Taylor Swift's Folklore was released with a dozen different bundles of the digital and physical album. There were CDs, vinyl, LP, cassette, and they were all sold through Swift's web store. She also offered an array of merch and digital album bundles such as a cable knit cardigan. It all led to the biggest sale of the year. 615,000 copies sold. Many believe that gave BTS an advantage because BTS never bundled. I'm not sure why it will be called an advantage, but it did show just how weak music purchase was going. People were streaming, and those who didn't nurture a strong relationship with their fans suffer the most in terms of direct income from their songs. The West like calling the K-pop idols manufactured products, but it's actually the West that treats music and musicians as commodities and fans as cash cows. Songs are to be purchased. You need to pay to watch a musical act. Fans are nothing more than customers. BTS showed the Western music industry that you need to treat your fans like people, not just cash cows. You need to communicate with them, listen, and find a way on how you can remain faithful to your DNA and also listen to them. BTS treated their fans like humans, and many still hate them for it. From validation to communication, B, the album, was a proof of just how much BTS has evolved as people and as artists. BTS compared the making of B to the production of Love Yourself in that it both felt like a cottage industry. But there was one glaring difference. For Love Yourself, they were eager to validate themselves through success. But for B, they were just doing it to communicate with armies. It wasn't about achievements anymore. They were past that. They just wanted a way to communicate with their fans. They didn't care about awards, accolades, sales, nothing of that sort. They just wanted to be able to communicate with armies. But there's also the other half of it. Pay attention to how they measured validation. They went out of their way to state it's the validation of success that they sought, not the validation of other people. It's a smart clarification. They made it clear it isn't necessarily the approval of people. They have their own concept of success, and they achieved it. And that's all that matters to them. The dynamic dynamite. One of the major points beyond the story emphasized is the amount of control they have over their own creatives. Although, like any other musical acts, they have a full team that supports them, it ultimately is up to them to make the call. It actually speaks of their leadership maturity. They can, like many other artists, get so consumed with control that they could spread themselves too thin. On the flip side, they could also just care about the end product and not the process, that they don't concern themselves with the actual process and production, losing their creative thumbprint. Stuck in the pandemic, BTS and Big Hit had to find an alternative on how to promote Dynamite. But they didn't just settle for an alternative. They went for something that has never been done before by any artist around the globe. They practically created at least 10 alternative music videos to Dynamite that highlighted BTS's vocal evolution by singing live in each of their performances, promote the rich culture and history of Korea, and set a new standard for remote music promotions. They didn't need to do that. First, featuring different historical sites in Korea wouldn't yield anything at that point, at least financially. Travel was banned. Second, they were promoting an English language song. But BTS was never one to think short term. Their narrative is planned years in advance. They kept the interest in tourism and Korean culture burning. And they were successful because just as soon as things opened, people were back into traveling to Korea. They could have simply created different sets in their practice rooms for each performance. But they didn't do that. Instead, they created a massive cultural campaign tucked in their artistry. Grammy performance. Their journey to their third Grammy performance, but first in person solo performance, was one for the history books. Jin just had a surgery in his hand. J-Hope and Jungkook tested positive for COVID-19, leaving them only one day to practice as a complete unit. They had to individually adjust their movements to not hit the laser beams. They also had to get their jackets altered to make the jacket portion possible. They also incorporated new set design elements and also changed some parts of their routine mere hours before the performance just to make the narrative more cohesive. But what's most memorable actually happened before the performance. It was when nothing and nobody can actually put BTS together but BTS themselves. Their performance director, Sun Sung-duk, admitted that it wasn't him or anyone else who could make BTS work as a cohesive unit, but BTS themselves. The Grammy had everyone at their disposal, but only BTS could make BTS come together as one. In a Weverse article, Sun Sung-duk emphasized three things. One, the importance of J-Hope in their rehearsal. Second, the confidence of the members to both J-Hope and Jungkook's ability to rehearse and practice on their own and know their parts as well as the parts of the entire team. And third, how it was actually the harmony that BTS creates when they are working together as a complete unit that allows them to deliver a performance at such a high level. BTS was actually the one that crafted their final performance, from incorporating Korean elements in their set to how they can use the cards to tie up the narrative to the final choreography. They made the decisions. They took full creative control over one of the most important performances of their life. They conceptualized and they executed flawlessly. They flattened all the bumps they encountered along the way. It also showed just how confident they are of their big hit team. They knew that if there was any logistical changes or requirements, Big Hit will be able to provide it. According to a Big Hit team leader, The Grammys asked Big Hit for a performance with a kind of artistry only BTS can pull off. They got it, in more ways than one. Their romanticism towards ARMY. Just last week, in Suga's talk show Suchuita, Suga said that he feels BTS and ARMY have evolved to become partners rather than just a celebrity and their fans. Jungkook, on the other hand, is trying to develop a certain level of friendship with ARMYs. He wants ARMYs to feel comfortable in criticizing his performances and his artistry so that he can improve. In the book, Namjoon said that he was hesitant to accept Dynamite because it was an English song. What tilted his position to a yes was his confidence in ARMYs. He just felt that while ARMY has been proud of the fact that they have never sang an English song, he also felt confident that ARMY will understand because ARMY's love is always more awesome than expected. While other artists are working hard to clearly draw a line between them and their fans, BTS is evolving the relationship. They obviously still want to keep their personal lives private, but they're starting to create a different kind of relationship, a different kind of world where they and ARMY can exist as equals. A recognition that their fans are just as important in their achievements as they are. Dynamite and Butter were Big Hit's ideas. One of the biggest questions even US ARMYs had when Dynamite, Butter, and Permission to Dance were released was whether or not the idea came from BTS and Big Hit. There was never a clarification from Columbia who initiated the project and how involved BTS was. The book clarified it. It was proposed by Bang Shihyuk. After the success of Map of the Soul, Bang wanted a chance to introduce BTS to people who could only reach or listen English language songs. RM, on the other hand, stated they decided to do it to reach the most number of ARMYs in a single song. It was important because a lot of criticisms actually went towards BTS's supposed surrender to Western pressures or the desperation to reach number one in the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Neither Bang Shihyuk nor BTS targeted number one. They simply wanted a chance to reach a bigger audience. But most importantly, nobody manipulated them to do it. They did it out of their own volition. Why not a tour? BTS did 2 semi-residencies in the US, one in SoFi in LA, November of 2021, and Allegiant in November, April of 2022. They also did a special free show in Busan to help Busan's World Expo bid. Many were wondering why BTS didn't just do a tour. The book didn't address it. I don't know the reason either. However, facts seems to point to BTS's enlistment as the reason they couldn't go on a tour. BTS had already decided to do their individual activities prior to enlisting. Remember that many of them, as we are seeing now, have actually planned to create content in advance so they can actually release it while they are in the military. All of that takes time and energy.
So had they gone on tour, obviously they wouldn't have the time or the energy to actually put into creating their own music, which we now know they were planning to release before they enlist. And of course, the content that they were creating so that they can release it once they are in the military already. However, the semi-residency was actually a really good alternative, maybe even better, because they didn't have to dismantle and construct the set each time they leave a city, which makes it more financially efficient, and it also gives the members some semblance of routine because they were in one place, they know where they were living, so they have some sort of a routine in them. It makes it easier for them to plan whatever it is that they're planning, whether it's work or other things. And then the other thing is that the logistics. At that time, the US really couldn't make up its mind on what kind of protocol they were going to put in place because of COVID. Some of the protocols were so confusing, it was changing by the day, and BTS and Big Hit were running the risk of just canceling certain dates or the entire tour, so they're going to take another financial hit. There were also COVID rules that were just, it made it practically impossible for any kind of big event to happen, and it was also going to be a headache for people that wanted to attend. There were different rules to follow and stuff like that. At least in one place, you know the rules that you need to follow. You're locked, you're there. So I think it was a better alternative at that time. BTS didn't give the world a choice. One of the things I appreciate about BTS is the way that they have taken control over their own careers and lives. At the age where blaming is all the rage, other people keep on blaming other people or other events or whatever with what's happening in their lives, BTS just took matters into their own hands. They do the work themselves. They don't leave it to chance or to other people, or they don't wait for things to change so that they can rise. When people were insulting them or belittling them, they decided they were going to push themselves so hard so that they will become so good that the numbers and the quality of their art will speak for themselves. And they did. They actually get to that point. Their economic contribution, the kind of awareness that they have raised, not just on Korean culture, but Asian culture, the records that they have set, the roads that they have paved, the doors that they have opened, the walls that they have broken, those are all unprecedented. And they're not even done. But I think the more important thing is the lives that they have been able to affect for the better because of their art, the lyrics and the music and their attitude. This is the end of the book. And as much as the book actually gave us a lot about BTS, there's still a lot of questions, white spaces that they didn't even touch. So that's why I feel like there will be another book. When that's going to be released, I don't know. But I'll be here when that happens. And then the other thing is that one of the other things that the book actually accomplished is to prove that even though BTS is a complete, cohesive, and solid team, each individual members are also just as complex and just as beautiful as artists. That's why I know there will be individual books. And as I've said, when that happens, I will be here, but I don't know when that's going to be released. I know that you guys are waiting for the 2013 OG Army's stories, and I will be sharing them. I'll be creating another video for that. So if you have suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. You can also get in touch with me in any of the social media links that you see on your screen right now. It has been an absolute pleasure. I know I read all of your comments. I haven't been able to religiously reply, but I will. So I know that some of you are thanking me, but I should be the one thanking you because I really feel like I've gotten so much more from this. I love reading books, and this is a bonus that I'm actually able to share with my thoughts with you guys. Okay, so I will be replying to more comments for now. And again, just send in your requests, send in your questions if you have suggestions on what topics to cover. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And of course, share the video if you can, please. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Till next time.